Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm finally showcasing my video on how I define and set my hair. So right here I'm just showing a couple shots of my hair dry, and then right away I go into rinsing my hair. Now I rinse and I rinse and I rinse. I use a lot of water. You gotta get it hydrated, gotta make sure that your hair is actually saturated with water and that the water is not just beating up and falling off of your hair. So sometimes it takes up to 5 minutes for that to happen. Since I already showed how I cleanse and condition my hair and detangle, this video is strictly just how I set my hair, the products that I use, and that whole process. So as you can see, I used a hydrating gel. I used the Uncle Funky's Daughter, and I emulsified it in my hands for a couple of seconds. That helps to evenly distribute the product onto your hands. And also it's concentrated a little bit, so it helps to kind of break it up. And then I just put it all over my hair, all over the outside edges, as you can see. After I put the gel throughout the outside of my hair, then I start to part it a little bit and I start putting it on the inside, as you can see here. And I also squeeze the gel into my hair. The reason I do this is to make sure that the product is has saturated into my hair properly, and I even dunk my head under the water again if I feel like it's not wet enough, if there's not enough moisture on it. So those are the things that I do to make sure that it's definitely penetrated into my hair. So why did I use a hydrating gel? Well, I wear my hair in wash and goes 95 to 99.9% of the time. I don't do twist outs anymore. I don't do braids. I barely wear wigs. So I like to use the hydrating gel on my hair personally because I feel like that gives me the most moisture retention and hydration, and it's really good to use underneath of any other type of product that I plan on using on top. So my hydrating gel, my go-to, is the Uncle Funky's Daughter. So again, you want to get in there, you want to squeeze your hair. This makes sure that the hair is wet enough and it has enough product, and your hair should feel heavy. You should have enough product that your hair, it kind of relaxes a little bit, it lays down, and it should feel heavy from the water and from the product. Once I feel like I have enough of the first gel, then I put my topper gel, and I use the Inner Sense I Create Hold as my topper gel. The reason that I used two gels was because the first one was for the hydration, to really lock in the moisture into my hair. The second gel is to define and really lock in the look of the curls. So again, I put this all over the outside of my hair first, working it in. And if I have to get more, I get more. I really just kind of slop it on, and then in a little bit later of a clip, you'll see me sectioning into smaller sections again and putting it into the individual sections a little bit more. The whiteness that's on my hair right now, that's just the product that hasn't quite seeped in through the cuticle yet. So I mean, it will definitely go away, and especially as it's drying, it will definitely go away. So you don't have to worry about that. At this point, I start to section the front from the back. That's just how I like to do it. I like to do it in smaller sections like that. and then I'll break those up even more. So section however you feel comfortable. If you start to get any snags or tangles, just take that individual piece and slowly take it apart and then continue to section so that you're not ripping any unnecessary hair out. I have been following this routine now for about 2 years, so for me, this is a pretty quick process. But for some people who haven't been hydrating their curls in the best possible way, this might take a lot longer, and that's okay. It's just trial and error, it's getting used to it, and if you get frustrated, take a deep breath, step back from it for a minute, and try again later. There's been times where I get really frustrated as well when I was in the beginning of this whole hydration routine, and I didn't feel like my results reflected the amount of work that I put into it, but consistency is key and practice makes perfect. So just continue to put your all into it and go slow. You don't have to go as quickly as I do, and really take the time to define and make sure that there is enough water in your hair. That's what creates the hydration. That's the whole point. Make sure that it has water and that we're locking in that water. Right here, I'm really focusing on a small section and I am running my fingers through the hair. I suppose that's the raking method of running my fingers through, separating the curls, really smoothing the product in. That's the key. You need to smooth in that product. Really, really define those curls and go slow. You don't have to go quickly. I know sometimes people will use the Felicia Leatherwood brush or even the Denman brush to define the curls, and that's definitely, if you want to do that for extra definition, that is totally fine. I personally like to use my fingers to detangle because I feel like it gives me a little bit more elongation. When I use brushes, my hair shrinks right back up, and I don't mind the shrinkage, but I just prefer to use my fingers instead of the brush. So that's personal preference. The way that I section my hair is usually a couple of inches at a time in between the parts. I know that sometimes if I'm looking for a lot of definition, I'll do smaller parts, like much smaller, and then I will really individualize the curls and I will take my time. But for the most part, generally speaking, I just grab 1 to 2 inch sections and I go through and define to the best of my ability, because I don't always like that super defined look. I like it to be not undefined, but not to the point where I can see each individual curl. Some people like it the same way as me, others like more definition. So if you want more definition, then I would say take smaller sections and really define each curl. But if you are, you don't care as much, or that's not the look you're going for, then you can use bigger sections and just define to the best of your ability. Throughout this process, I continue to add more product as needed. Same with water. I'll add a little bit more water as needed. With this gel, I generally don't add as much water as I do when I'm using my first gel. So with the first one, you want to continue adding water. But with the second one, your focus is more on capturing that curl definition. So I usually don't feel like I need more water. I'll just take a tiny bit more product if necessary, and then I'll go through and define the section. So just kind of use your best discretion, and it just depends on whatever type of look that you're going for. There have been times where I will use more water with my topper gel, but generally speaking, I don't really feel like I need more. So I just kind of go with what my hair already has in it and just continue to define. As I mentioned, this is just a lot of smoothing and raking and smoothing and raking, so you just want to continue that process. Make sure that you're going through with your fingers, defining those curls individually, and once you finish defining, don't touch them again. That's why I have those clips in the back. I just clip it up and I move on. I don't try to define the whole section or anything like that. I take my section that I just did, put it away, move on. I don't touch it anymore until it's ready to be dried and I'm sitting under a dryer. That's all you have to do. It's also important to remember to define your curls and lay them in the way that you want them to ultimately sit when you're drying and then when you're wearing them. So with the back section, I tried to pull all of those curls towards the back. On the sides, you're going to see that I'm going to kind of bring them down towards my ear area and the nape of my neck. So you kind of want to sit them where you want them to lay. When I get to the front, you'll see that there's a certain position that I put them into, and I do my defining part while my hair is wet as well. So you want to make sure that you are detangling and smoothing and raking in the way that you want them to ultimately look when it's dry. So as I get towards the front, I do take slightly smaller sections because I like the front to be more defined than the back towards the nape of my neck. So you will see that my sections are a little bit smaller. I also just showed my part, so I like to place my part when it's wet. That way when it dries, I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to break the gel cast or anything. I can just kind of let it go. I have finished the overall defining of all of my hair, and now I'm just kind of refining any areas that I feel like maybe they need a little bit of extra TLC. And we are all done. I'm just kind of showing you what the curls look like, how they're laying, and you know, just kind of showing off a little bit, shaking my hair. That's one thing that you can do. I know some people like to shake their hair before they sit under the dryer or use the diffuser. That helps to break the curls up a little bit more, but I usually just go right from this process right to sitting under the dryer. So yeah, these are my curls. At this point, I was about, I want to say 80 to 90% dry. And during this time, I actually did not have a hooded dryer. My hooded dryer broke, so I was confined to using a diffuser. And I don't prefer the diffuser. I don't necessarily like the way that it sets my hair, but this is all I had at the time, so this is what I was using. But my preference is definitely a hooded dryer. There's just something about the way that it sets the hair. I just like it more. Plus, then you don't have to stand there and hold anything for a long time. But, you know, it just kind of depends on what your financial situation is or how much space you have in your home. So just get whichever. I mean, they're both great. They're both better than air drying because this will actually create a cast. So for this particular video, I have the diffuser, but I will create another video in the future of the difference of how it looks under a hooded dryer. So in any case, these are the results. Lots of beautiful curls, and this was the process. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everyone's patience, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day.